The Arizona Coyotes record their first win at the Mullett, but was it a good? Carl and I are going to break this one down, see what we thought about this Arizona Coyotes win over the Florida Panthers on this episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlik right beside me. On today's episode of Locked On Coyotes, I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, and that includes on YouTube. We got a great show for you on today's episode. We are discussing Arizona's 3-1 win over the Florida Panthers at the Mullett, their first home win at Mullett Arena. After their so far 3 games there. Carl, thought your initial thought on this game?
It was definitely an entertaining game. The Coyotes did a couple good things that I like. They really got saved by their power play. 2 power play goals to give them the win, which isn't something that we're gonna see too often. But I'm gonna enjoy it while I can.
Absolutely, 2 power play goals, as you mentioned, for the Arizona Coyotes, and you know what? I appreciated that, right? I appreciated to see that they were struggling earlier, right? But then you see Nick, and not only, like, obviously Nick Ritchie is going to be Nick Ritchie. He's on a power play goal, and tear. But to see Krause do well too, right? Because get himself on the board, and continue his trend of going up, and kind of show the reason that the Coyotes made the right decision to give him this extension.
Yeah. Kraus is a big part of the power play. Big body, definitely a player who you're going to put out there for those kind of situations. He started off the season with 2 empty net goals, which, empty net goals are fine. You need them, but it's nice to see him actually generating, some, more meaningful goals. Like this one tied up the game, led the way to, make sure that the Coyotes had some momentum going into that final period. Very big goal by Lawson Krause.
Let's also go ahead and highlight Karel Vejmelka, right? Because this game could have easily gone a whole different direction if Karel Vejmelka didn't play in the win. And it's amazing to finally see this again because, obviously, if you compare it to last year, Karel had so many 45 save games. This was a 41 save game, which still is good, right? You're over saves in a game, dude. So he looked good.
Yeah, 41 saves on 42 shots, including 8 saves on the power play, which is massive because, the Florida Panthers have a lot of offensive weapons. I think he looked best in the third period, just kind of making sure that, the Panthers didn't get that equalizer late with the empty net. But, the team didn't do him too many favors in the second when the Coyotes were outshot 16-3.
Yeah, no, if you look at the shot count just in general, it was absolutely atrocious, right? Want to see exactly what the entire shot count was.
Well, actual shots on goal, it's 42-21. So it's literally 2-1, which is not great. I don't imagine shot attempts or block shots are going to be much better for the Coyotes.
Plus, I think a lot of those shot attempts probably went up towards the end of the second and through the third period, right?
Yeah.
Because what was the
Uh,
Coyotes after one? Wasn't it like weren't they like at 6 or 8 shots or something like that?
after the first period, they were actually out shooting the Panthers 8-7
There.
after
Oh,
the
there.
first period,
Wow. Okay.
and things really started to fall apart in the second. It was interesting. The first period, the Coyotes were out shooting the Panthers, yet looked horrible on the power play, and then the other two periods, the Coyotes were getting badly outshot and had a really good power play. So
Can we just cry for consistency, Carl?
yeah, the Coyotes are a very inconsistent team, and they're going to continue to be a very inconsistent team.
It's it's really frustrating sometimes to just see it go down that way. It's like, really, guys, you're really gonna
Yeah,
go down this route?
I mean, of course they're going to go down that route. They always go down that route.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But officially one win at Mullett Arena, um, to kind of see how that goes. Um, I think I don't think I'd have expected the first win at Mullett Arena to be Florida Panthers, but I'll take it.
Yeah. When I was doing the preview for the game on Five for Howling, I did discover that the Panthers have a surprisingly weak power play and penalty kill. Like, you wouldn't expect it. They're a highly skilled team. They won the President's Trophy last year. Spencer Knight looked really good tonight too. But other than that, you got Bobrovsky, who is, starting to find his second wind. So you wouldn't expect special teams to be that bad for Florida. And I do think that they're going to go up, but it does look like the Coyotes were able to sneak in and get them at just the right time.
Yeah, and I get you, and I guess the to be more specific on what I was trying to get at is, like towards the beginning of the year, if I was like looking at you know the schedule for Mullet Arena, and it's like, all right, when are the Coyotes going to get their first home win? Then I wouldn't have said yes, but like after knowing what we knew now, I kind of made the prediction. I on the pregame uh, crossover episode with Armando Velas of Locked On Florida Panthers. I predicted the Arizona Coyotes would win 3-2. So my score prediction wasn't so far off. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is close. This is close, and I still predicted the Coyotes to win, and the Coyotes will get their first win at the Mullet, um, which ended up happening.
Before you did that preview, did you think it would be earlier, or did you think they would get it against Dallas, or did you think they would get it in December?
I honestly thought it was going to be that first game against Winnipeg.
Uh, See, I was leaning more towards December.
That would have been brutal, though. Oh my god!
I'm not saying it wouldn't have been. I'm just saying, like, the schedule that the Coyotes had,
It's
it was
it's
like,
yeah, I get you. It's tough.
yeah, it's four really good teams. And the Coyotes probably didn't. Yeah, no. If you're killing penalties against the Florida Panthers, I say you deserve a win.
Mm, I would go ahead and make the debate that, yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think the Coyotes kind of had a good win here, but did they deserve to win this game? No, I don't think they did. And I'm gonna have to go through some of the stats that kind of back that up in just a moment. But first, I'm gonna turn to Carl for a quick word.
So I just want to tell you guys about all of the flavors for Built Bar. They're new, they're reimagined. We got the cookie dough topper, we got the coconut brownie bar, we got the coconut brownie topper. White chocolate peppermint granola. It's Built's take on a granola bar, and it's more filling and still insanely tasty. Plus, you got the candy cane brownie puff. You get the built puffs, and they bring just the universe's most delicious cloud, all covered in 100% real chocolate. What is happening at Built Bar is they are revolutionizing nutrition as we know it with 100% real chocolate, 17 grams of protein, and shockingly low sugar and calories. There is only 130 calories. And what I want you to do is you can go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your order right now. That's promo code LOCKEDON15. Built. You got to try this.
So let's go ahead and move on. I said that the Coyotes did not deserve to win this game, Carl. Kind of
Mhm.
contradicting a little bit of what you said, but there's a reason to it. And it's looking at the expected goals and just the general possession metrics for the Florida Panthers. Florida just dominated the possession game. They had more opportunities to get goals. And their expected goals, I'm going to show a chart on for those who are watching on YouTube. Carl, you're going to take a look at this. 6.7 expected goals for Florida Panthers versus 2.82 for the Arizona Coyotes. That is disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. You could see how they really pick things up in the second period. For people watching at home, you're seeing a big spike there. Seeing a big spike at the very end. Otherwise, it is kind of flat. The Coyotes were able to really hold the Panthers and not let them run absolutely wild outside of a couple of situations. But like I said before, if you are able to score 2 power play goals, you're able to limit the Panthers to scoring on none of their 3 power plays. The Florida Panthers, that means something. That means something to me. And I get shots. I get we have lots of measures for deserve to win, but guys won this one with special teams. It's not
I'm
going to
getting
happen every time, but it happened tonight.
I am getting some of these stat metrics from Money Puck,
Yeah.
and they actually have. I was just kind of scrolling through their page. I was looking at it. They have a deserve to win o meter.
Oh, I love that
Um,
it deserves to win meters.
right, their deserve to win o meter was 90.9% in favor of Florida versus 9.2% for Arizona.
That's why you gotta play the games, though. That's why. Um, you know, and I like when I look at this game, do I see it as a repeatable success? Absolutely not. I think 8 times out of 10 the Coyotes lose this game, but that is kind of a it's not a good path to success relying on power play goals and your goalie to stand on his head, but eh, it's kind of all they could hope for sometimes.
Absolutely. There's a lot of different things on that. You take a look at and just looking at some of the other stats on here. Obviously, we only mentioned the goal scorers. I kind of want to go back and kind of look at some of the just in general point scorers, those who got on the board. Clayton Keller, he did score a goal. He scored the empty net, but he also got an assist, right? So
Hmm.
he got the most 2 points in the game. Lawson Krause with his goal, Nick Ritchie with his goal, but assists. Let's highlight some of those people because J.J. Mosier, Christian Fischer, Matthias Michelli, Patrick Nemeth, and Dylan Guenther.
That's nice to see Gunther getting on the board. I thought he looked really good. Matthias Michelli, great to see him getting an assist as well. I do kind of want to highlight the Clayton Keller of it all. He now has it's showing 2 goals and 6 assists, but I thought he had 3. Um, yeah, so he has 3 goals and 7 assists, 10 points in 8 games. That is impressive from Keller. I
Want to
think
know
those numbers.
the most interesting thing is looking at the total time on ice too.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to ask you this: can you guess who had first who had the longest time on ice for the Coyotes?
Mosier?
JJ Mosier, 22 minutes 21 seconds. Now here's the interesting: second wasn't a defenseman.
Mm. Was it Barrett Hayton?
No, It was not Barrett Hayton. Barrett Hayton put 1730 on the ice.
Still impressive. Still impressive. Was it Keller?
It was Keller. 21-19.
Yeah. Keller just 8 minutes today. Mosier, I thought, had a really solid game. In addition to the assist, he did another one of those, like just taking the puck past a bunch of defenders and going hard to the net as a defenseman. I love when he does that.
Mosier and Gostisbehere are like the two bright spots of this defense right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, like, the longer it goes on, the more I kind of appreciate the game of like Brown or Namath, Stetcher. Like, I'm starting to pick
They
up on.
definitely got roles. I'm not saying that they don't,
Yeah.
that like they're invisible. They definitely got roles and they're important to this Coyotes defense. But obviously, it's hard to compete when you have Mosier and Gostisbehere kind of like running the show in in a certain way,
Yeah. Plus, like, one of the things about their roles is that, you're not necessarily supposed to notice them as much. Like, a lot of defensemen, it often feels like, if unless you're paying very close attention to them, which, you should every once in a while, like, if you're noticing something, it's because they're doing something wrong. But then you have players like Gossespierre, like Mosier, who are just kind of like highlight reel guys who are able to do that. And, you need both in terms of your defenseman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just a little bit though, I do want to touch on a couple other things too. I want to touch on Dylan Guenther. We're going to do that in just a sec, and I want to take just a quick see what they got with the Coyotes have coming up for them this week. Before we get to that though, I do want to thank everyone once again on Coyotes. Your first listen today. I can listen. Be sure to check out Locked On. From the games that matter most to the biggest in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today is available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. So now let's go and ask Carl the Dylan Guenther question. Dylan Guenther has now played 8 NHL games, one more, and that's the max he can play before getting sent back down to the WHL and burning without burning a contract year. If you are Bill Armstrong and Andre Tourigny, what are you thinking right now?
I think that Guenther has played phenomenally well with the Coyotes. I think that there is very little he can learn in juniors. I think he is currently looking like a full-time NHL player. I still think that they sent him down after the game. I think there are contract reasons. I think there are still player development reasons. One of the biggest things to me is, sure, he's looking good at game 9. How is he going to look at game 50? Because
Right.
it's a long season, and he's going to keep taking some heavy hits that he wouldn't necessarily take. And the Coyotes are not going to, feels weird to say because they have a really bad record. They are not going to be this good for the entirety of the season. I imagine that there's going to be stretches of them just being downright horrendous.
Right.
We saw it last year. We're going to see it again this year. So I think you send Guenther down, unless he just comes out there and proves next game that you can't.
Absolutely. I think I'm on the fence, Carl, because I'm looking at it in different ways, and there's different questions you got to ask when it comes to Dylan Guenther. You have to ask, is his development better suited in with the Edmonton Oil Kings and WHL? Is there much more he can learn down there than play in the NHL for the Arizona Coyotes? That is question one. Question two is, how do you foresee his role as a member of the Arizona Coyotes past game 9? Do you see him potentially getting scratched for more often than not, or do you want to see him on the starting roster almost every single game? Obviously, that's going to be a little bit of a hard ask because he's a young kid. He's only 19 years old, but still, that's still a question I kind of have to ask. He's like, okay, we don't want to have to scratch this kid too much, because that you want to make sure he gets his development.
Yeah.
That kind of goes into the first one, right? Is he going to be more suited where he's going to get the minutes and guaranteed, or where he's definitely looks NHL ready and he's freaking doing well, but with the chance that he needs to get scratched every now and then, so he kind of, which which is fine, but like if his play diminishes, where he has to get scratched more often than not, those are questions you have to ask. To me, I really think that as a self opinionated person to trying to answer that first question is I agree the fact that he cannot learn more in the juniors. He has
Yep.
already surpassed that. He is NHL ready. Um, that brings me to the second question is I still see him potentially getting scratched more often because again we're talking inconsistency. We would expect him to play like this for say 67 games, right? Because I'm just going to put a number of how many games he's probably going to miss to getting scratched or getting rotated out.
Yeah.
It's just inconceivable to ask a 19-year-old who's just a rookie to be able to continually play at that level, for that many games. But I think that said, I think he has that worth. He has that worth, and I think they keep him up.
So I agree with you. It is not fair to ask a 19-year-old player to be a consistent NHL player, especially on a bad team, like a team where honestly is going to rely on him to generate offense if he is up here. Like he's absolutely going to have a role. He's going to have a prime role. Since I think he started getting some like pretty good time with Clayton Keller. If not, like he's still got plenty of people on his line who, are going to depend on him. And you know, I do often wonder what's best for the team, and what's best for the team is making sure that Guenther is developed properly. Like same thing goes with Logan Cooley. They have less control over that situation because he's an NCAA prospect. They can't sign him to an ELC. They can't have him play, but they have all of the control over what they do with Dylan Guenther. And we're not practicing with the team. We're not in the locker room. We're not talking about what everyone ate, making sure that he's on the right diet. Like the coaching staff, the staff, they're the ones who are there. They're gonna ones who make the call, and I'm sure it's gonna be based on a holistic approach to where Dylan Guenther is at. And if he is sent down, he has absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. He has put on a hell of a run. Um, and I think he is a lot closer than a lot of people thought. Like going back to before the season started, there was speculation on whether or not he would even make the team out of training camp. He didn't last year, but he has. He stuck around and he has made himself known, and you love to see it.
Yeah, and I know the injury to Nick Schmaltz kind of does make a difference on how often he's been playing, but
Yeah.
you take a look at the fact that the Coyotes have played 9 games total, and Dylan Guenther has played in 8 of them, right? Um, he's only missed that first one. He was scratched in that first one, and then he played the rest. That kind
Yeah.
of gives you somewhat of an idea of how they plan to use him. I can see him. I can see him be used adequately, and appropriately with the Coyotes. It's just you know it really is hard to look long term and past December, and it's like, all right, what's he going to look like past then? And that's what makes it the hard decision, right? Obviously, luckily, we're not the ones making this decision, but it is a really tough decision to do that because like you got to think of all those different factors. Um, again, I'm like, again, you and I are kind of in disagreement. You think they're going to send him down. I think they're going to keep him up. But like that just shows you, how on the fence I think this situation really is.
Absolutely. If there's anyone outside of the Coyotes coaching staff, Dylan Guenther or Dylan Guenther's agent, who claims to know exactly what's happening, don't trust them. Like, I'm sure there are people out there who have good ideas, but I do think this could be a situation where it comes down to his next game against the Dallas Stars. Like, if he has a big game, then that could be it. Uh, I thought he looked good tonight against the Panthers. I don't think it was necessarily like a game-changing game. I don't see it as being something that, you know, other than he performed adequately against the Panthers. But as you brought up, the team did not do good. So, like, I don't know. Was this a big enough game to earn him a spot? Who really knows?
Yeah, I don't think that he's made enough to guarantee he stays up. I think he's done enough where you have to ask the question.
Yeah.
Because
Uh,
if you had asked me at around game 2 or 3, I'm like, oh yeah, run it up until game 9. Even maybe even before then, just see what he does, see how he fits in, and I'm like, all right, we've had. Uh, I'm at this point. I'm just, dude. Not only are we having fun with them, but like he's give somewhat giving you a reason to keep him up.
yeah.
So
He is
that's
making a very strong case for himself.
he's making a strong case for himself, and what would put him up getting a hat trick on Thursday, but uh, that's asking for a lot.
That is that definitely is. Uh, I mean, although it should be said the Coyotes do have another injury before the game. Zach Cassian had to miss with I believe, an upper body injury. Coyotes substituted Dyson Mayo, so he has a
Dyson Mayo
chance to come back.
substituting a forward defenseman. The Coyotes decided to go with 11 forwards and 7 defense, which is common. They did it quite often last year.
Yeah. I think their blue line was a little bit better last year, though. Maybe
It was a little bit
necessity
better
are
last
making
year.
that. But uh,
Yeah.
so depending on how that goes, there may be a spot for Guenther, even if Schmaltz returns.
Yeah, and you know, I think Gunther's just getting like right place, right time, and he's getting that opportunity and he's gonna look good for it. I think whatever happens, the Coyotes are gonna be in good hands after what we've seen from sample size of what we've been able to see from Dylan Guenther in the NHL.
Yep, he is definitely looking really good, and kind of proves that the team was right to make that pick.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts you'd like to share about this game, about Dylan Guenther, about anything before we get ready to close things off?
It was nice to see the first win at Mullett Arena. It's you know we talked about the Coyotes getting their first win of the game and how much of a relief that is. I think that getting the first win at home is also a big relief. Uh, Definitely eases the tension going into this Thursday's game.
Absolutely. That Thursday's game coming up pretty soon. Obviously, it's on Thursday. Arizona Coyotes versus Dallas Stars. We're going to have a preview about that beforehand, and we're going to have a post game. Hopefully, if all things goes, we'll be the post game from Mullett Arena. Otherwise, I'll be coming back home right after the game because I'll be there. I'll be there at Mullett Arena for the game as a member of the media this time, rather than as a fan. Looking forward to seeing how that turns out. But that's it for today of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a 5-star review, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to put us on social, on Facebook Locked On Coyotes, on Instagram at Locked On Coyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have, answer right back, or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.